Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like everybody's on the call now, so we will begin. My name is Todd Rogers, and I'm one of the lead change designers here at People Plan Work. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to hear more about your situation at GP Corporation, and we are very excited to help in any way we can if we feel we can add value. We understand from the RFP that you want to conduct a survey to begin to address some of the organizational issues you are experiencing. I want to start by making sure we picked up on the key points pertaining to these issues as presented in your request for proposal. And by key, I mean the aspects of your situation that are most critical to you as a leadership team. From what we read, GP Corporation is made up of 4 basic functional components that are duplicated across 5 business units: U.S. leadership team, divisional principals, consultants and analysts, and the operations group that supports all the other functions. Furthermore, GP Corporation has seen stellar year-over-year growth for the past 5 years, and much of this growth has been driven by the high-performance culture of the consultants and analysts division, and they have historically been your growth engine. More recently, there was a decision made to supplement this growth engine through the purchase of a number of small boutique firms outside the U.S., and this adds a 5th organizational component, which for our discussion we'll identify as recently onboarded boutique employees. It's not explicitly stated in the RFP, but our assumption is that this decision was made in order to accelerate growth outside the U.S. as well as strengthen the U.S. business by bringing in new ideas and capabilities from outside. I want to pause here because one of the things we'll definitely want to hear about at some point from the leadership team is whether this statement of your strategic imperative is accurate about the purchase of the boutiques. We also would like to hear more about how this decision supports GP Corporation's mission, vision, and growth strategy. This is particularly crucial to understand at the start because you, as you yourself have shared in the RFP, you suspect the employees, in particular sales individuals and analysts who constitute the growth engine, are unclear about the purpose of these firms and how their addition creates organizational synergies or improves or changes cross-functional processes, product offerings, strategy priorities, and sales tactics. In fact, there seems to be a large communication gap, and in that gap, you've heard employee feedback trickle up that falls into 2 categories. So some of this feedback that is trickling up can be thought of as warning signs. One of the first ones is that management practices are misaligned and are not achieving results. Secondly, there's a perception of ambiguity around the cross-functional inner working, inclusive of these new boutiques. And that is translating into employee frustration, and that employee frustration is spilling over into a negative work unit climate. Also, there seems to be declining performance report trends in the past 2 years, even though overall the past 5 years there's a strong growth trend. And there has been a dramatic increase of employee turnover, particularly with these acquired boutiques. I want to pause here to see if there are any questions or if you would like to clarify anything that has been presented to this point or potentially misstated. No? Okay, then let's move forward. But before I open the floor for discussion on the topic of strategic intent of the boutique purchases, I would like to give you a quick overview of the People Plan Work process. So at People Plan Work, we are an evidence-based change design firm, which means that part of our design validation process leverages social research, stakeholder population surveying, and at times big data. We use this to inform the change design recommendations we make. The first step in our process is the problem discovery and system mapping step. And at the present moment, we have some suspected symptoms, as we've discussed, of a problem that you've shared, and perhaps we have an inkling of the problem itself, but in relationship to how the boutique mergers were rolled out. But this is, and here we lean on Peter Block's flawless consulting methodology. We see this as the presenting problem. There may be a more significant underlying problem, say perhaps in how the decision was made in the first place. So the first phase of the Plan People Work method will be to get a higher level picture of GP Corporation as a system and conduct a number of interviews with representatives from different part of the system. We would start with the presenting problem and then get feedback from each participant on how, in their view, we ended up in the state where this problem exists. And we continue to work backwards with them until we begin to get a picture of the root problem. and validated by a number of people seeing that as the root problem. The next phase would be the employee feedback survey development phase. So once we have a better understanding of the problem, the core problem, we then want to understand how to best go about leading the organization to a better position of engagement, energy, and optimism to work together to solve that problem. And that's going to involve an understanding of what individuals and groups are truly thinking and feeling about how things are being run and their current contribution and value in the group through some type of cross-company survey tool. This will be crucial in orchestrating a change plan and developing effective communications that will best facilitate a successful change. And here we like to apply David Rock's SCARF model for anticipating change resistance and the employee's experience of threat, as these aspects are incorporated in the development survey questions. The SCARF model represents 5 key themes that all relate to traditional employee satisfaction during times of change. There's themes of status, certainty, autonomy and control, relationship, and fairness and transparency in decision making. In addition, we'll be incorporating themes from other employee survey objective types besides the change framework. For example, there's the theme of the employee survey as early warning indicator of problems, the theme of strategy or program effectiveness, and the theme of measuring why employees stay with GP, and that's an employer of choice measurement objective. We would then work with the leadership team to identify what type of information in these themes will be most instructive in helping them define, manage, and communicate through a change initiative. We then generate questions designed to pull on that information. And we do this in a 3-step process. And the first step is actually to write these questions as open-ended questions. And we do this and we proctor the survey to a small group of people so that we can start to understand the range of answers that would be appropriate to be included. So once we're done with defining that answer set through a small test group of people, then we go to the next step, which is survey refinement. And we would provide this second survey to a larger sample group to get feedback, to get initial results, but also to get feedback on the wording of the questions and the survey experience. And this becomes, again, a baseline of employee sentiment, but it also helps us get a more robust survey. At the end of this survey, it's actually a gate point where the senior leadership can say, okay, we're looking at the results from this group, and it's actually enough for us to make the decisions that we need to make. Or if the senior leadership feels like they still need more information, we would be able to take that more refined study and roll it out to the entire company. Once the results are tabulated, we review them with senior leadership, highlighting how the employee attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors relate to not only the underlying problem, but then tie to the components of the change plan. And then we use that information to refine the change plan. We work with senior leadership to develop a high-level tasks and messaging that will make up the change plan, as well as a high-level timeline for implementing the plan, and a definition of the performance measures and improvement targets leadership are needing to see once the change plan is fully implemented. Are there any questions? Well, if not, I'd like to say thank you again for the opportunity to get to present our process to you. I am going to turn the floor over now to John, and he's going to facilitate the discussion around the strategic imperative. Thank you again.